Hey everybody, it's Craig back to here, and in this video we're going to talk about tube swapping or tube rolling in the EVH 5153 series. So this applies to both heads, combos, 50 watt and 100 watt. So how this is laid out is channel 1, so V1, is from the left to right. So V1 in the front row affects all three channels. So the clean channel, which is the green channel, the blue channel, which is channel 2, and channel 3. So whatever you put in that V1 slot, you want to make sure that it's a quiet tube and also that it has tone characteristics that you like. Now, rumor has it that Eddie liked JJ tubes, but not everybody likes JJ tubes. And when I purchased this, it came with no-name tubes. So I'm not even sure what was in it, whether they be Chinese tubes or JJ tubes. So I decided to retube it, also because it gives you different tonal characteristics. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the different tones. Now, I didn't purposely make an audio clip of all these changes because it's hard to hear them on YouTube if you don't have proper headphones. And a lot of people just watch videos on their tablets or their phones anyway. So I'm just going to talk about these tones and you can try them out yourself, because I really suggest you trying this at home with your setup, with your speaker, because it really makes a pretty big difference, although some people say it doesn't. And even changing one type of tube from one slot to the next can make a really big difference. And it may be the sound that you're looking for. So I recommend trying out different tubes. So I tried out a number of different tubes. I've got the 7025 from Electro Harmonix. I also have the 12AX7. I also tried out some Tube Amp Doctor tubes. Now those are just relabeled tubes. They come in a package like this, but these are really just Russian tubes, Chinese tubes, JJ tubes that they do extensive testing on. And so I wanted to try out a couple of ones that they call their high-grade premium, just because I wanted to quiet down some of the sound. So the EVH 5153 Stealth Series, if you haven't heard it, it's a little bit more higher gain than the rest of the EVH series, and it can be really noisy on channel 3. So I wanted to start with a really good premium tube in V1. Left to right is V2, V3, and V4 on the front row. Those are all channel 3, V2, V3, V4. Now, the second row back, V5 and 6, they affect channels 1 and channels 2. So what I did was I got a premium 7025 tube from Tube Amp Doctor. I put that in V1. In V2 for channel 3, I used a Tungsol 5751. Now that's about 70% gain of a 12AX7 tube. So I used that tube to bring down some of the gain. Then I put a 7025 in the next slot. And the last slot, V4, I used another 5751. And it really tamed that number 3 channel. But I found having the Tungsol in V2 sounded better than the Tube Amp Doctor 5751 that I ordered. So play around with the different placement of the tubes, because you'll notice that each tube has its own characteristic sound, and you may prefer it in a different slot. Now when it came to channels 1 and 2, that would be the middle row, V5 and V6, I used another premium 7025 from Tube Amp Doctor. Then I used a 7025 EH, and I found that sounded really good with the combination of what I had in V1. The last tube that doesn't have a shield is the Power Amp Phase Splitter, also known as a phase inverter tube. Now what you want to do is make sure that you have a balanced 12AX7 in that slot. I had a couple that I tried. I got one from Tube Amp Doctor, and I also had an Electro Harmonix 12AX7, and I compared the two, and I preferred the Tube Amp Doctor phase inverter tube, which I believe was a relabeled JJ tube. So going from left to right, in the first slot, V1, I have a Tube Amp Doctor 7025, which I think is a Chinese tube, rebranded. Number 2, for channel 3, I have a Tungsol 5751, which is a Russian tube. Then I have a 7025, which is Electro Harmonix tube. Then I have a 5751 tube on V4, which I believe is a Russian tube. And then I have on V5, I have a Tube Amp Doctor 7025, and then the next one over, V6, I have a 7025 Electro Harmonix. Then I have 2 Sovtek power tubes that I replaced. So those are 6L6 WXT Plus tubes. I have another video about how to bias your amps, so I'll put a link to that above, and I'll put a link to that below if you want to check out how to bias your stealth head. And then the last one is the phase splitter, which I used a tube amp Doctor tube, and that was a ECC83, which I believe is a JJ balance tube, which sounds good in that position. But experiment, try out different tubes. A lot of people swear by new old stock. I haven't purchased any of those. They're quite expensive nowadays. Try whatever you can get your hands on, I guess, move them around and just see what you think sound the best to your ears. You may prefer a certain combination and it might help you get the tones you're looking for. Like I said, also too, using the premium tested tubes, there's a better guarantee that they're going to be a little more quiet, less microphonic, less noisy. So that's why I went with some tube amp Doctor tubes. Now, I live in Canada, and if you live in the US, if you live outside of Europe, you're probably going to have to pay duty on top of shipping. So consider that if you do order any tube amp Doctor tubes. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I'm going to do an interview with Howard Kaplan next week, who is the engineer and amp designer that worked on the 5153 series of amps. So if you have any questions about the EVH lineup of amps, post them down below in the comments section, and I'll ask Howard when I do my interview with him next week. Anyway, it's great to hear. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Just hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification to get future updates when my next video goes live. Also, if you found any of these tips helpful, just hit that like button. It helps the algorithm, and this video will get more views. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Any comments or questions that you'd like me to ask Howard, you can post them down below in the comments section. Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.